Hi everybody, I'm Educator Emily and welcome to our third video in our high school Comparative Anatomy Series. In this video, we are discussing the integumentary systems of fish, reptiles, and amphibians. Now, for fish and for reptiles, their integument is scales. Now, for having scales, fish integument is pretty smooth and is covered in a variety of mucus glands that help protect it from the elements. However, not all fish are covered in the same type of scales. There are 4 types of scales that fish could be covered with. These 4 types of scales are placoid, ganoid, ctenoid, and cycloid. Now, placoid scales, these are only found in sharks, and they're actually made up of dentine and enamel, which is the same stuff that makes up our teeth. Ganoid scales are found in old lineage fishes like gar, and they're predominantly bone, covered in a thick layer of enamel known as ganoine. Now, ctenoid scales look like squares with teeth on one edge. And these are probably the scales on fish that we have seen, as they're found in fish we're very familiar with, like perch and bass. Lastly, there are cycloid scales, which you've also probably seen because they're present in fish such as goldfish, trout, or cod. Now, the integumentary system of amphibians does not have scales, unlike the other 2 groups that we're talking about in this video. However, their integumentary system is highly specialized for their way of life. Not only does their skin act as a barrier between their internal organs and the external environment, but amphibians like this tiger salamander can breathe through their skin. Because their skin has to be kept moist in order for them to breathe, the skin of an amphibian is full of large glands that secrete mucus that help to keep the skin wet. Many amphibians also have various poison glands that they can secrete poison from to keep them safe from predators. In contrast to amphibians, reptiles like Harry the bull python here have dry, scaly skin. Their integument is specially adapted to prevent water loss. So that outer layer of the epidermis, their stratum corneum, is especially thick and tough. These toughened parts of the epidermis are toughened by beta keratin, which is a type of keratin only found in reptiles. In many reptiles, their scales have evolved into spikes as a form of defense, like Moana the bearded dragon. And many have plates of dermal bone underneath their scales. The shell of a turtle, like in this box turtle here, is technically part of the integumentary system, since it's not only made up of skeletal bone, but dermal bone as well. One characteristic of reptiles is that they shed their skin, either in one solid piece or it sloughs off in large chunks at a time. In contrast to amphibians, who have very large dermal glands to keep their skin moist, the dermal glands of reptiles are fairly small. However, some of these glands are crucial in the shedding of their skin. Now that we've briefly discussed the integumentary systems in 3 different animal groups, fish, amphibians, and reptiles, make a chart that compares and contrasts the similarities and differences between them